Okay, so I have finished playing Outlast. It is over and it has been one hell of a ride. It's actually a really good game. I think it was really well done. The story was really pretty good, but it was extremely predictable. It was a non-stop cliche. I mean, it starts off in possibly one of the most cliched manners of all times. I mean, you start off, you're going to investigate a secret organisation, or at least hints of it, some nefarious experiments that are going on at a lunatic asylum. And so, of course, you have to go there at night, in the middle of a thunderstorm. I mean, literally, it was straight out of an old horror movie. But for some reason, that just doesn't matter. In fact, it adds to the feeling I got. I mean, I really did feel like I was going old school, really back in time to the 70s and 80s for those sort of horror movies. And I really liked it. And the story was pretty predictable. A lot of, let's face it, although you have these surprise moments where the plot twists a little bit, like when you're in the elevator and it continues going down towards the end, whilst it's a bit surprising, you don't sit there going, oh wow, that was totally unexpected. There was a side of you thought, of course that's what was going to happen. You were aggravated, but you kind of knew that had to be. It wasn't going to let you just walk out of the door. There was going to be something happening. But it works. There were a few moments when I found it a little... there was a couple of times, for example, when I was outside the building, I kept thinking to myself, why don't I just run and climb that wall, climb the fence? I don't care if there's barbed wire or cut glass at the top. I'll take the damage. I've had 2 fingers cut off. I don't mind a few more scratches. There was this side of me thinking, why am I looking for the priest? Just I don't know, get all these boxes, pile them up and jump over. I'll roll down the hill if I break my legs. At this point, I just want to get the hell out of here. So there are a few times when you thought, you know what, the game is leading me. But on the whole, it just doesn't matter. It still felt like a really good story. The characters were actually really good, which is surprising if you think about it, because every single character was either a monster or nuts. The priest was pretty believable, and Chris, the big guy, it's kind of odd, but he was terrifying, and yet there was something really reassuring about him wandering around out there. That you always had this feeling that he wasn't truly a bad guy. He wasn't really evil. You just got that feeling. And then, of course, Traeger. I mean, he was nuts, and yet probably my favourite character in the game. I mean, I'm never going to hear anyone use the word buddy ever again without little chills down my spine. I mean, he was absolutely nuts, but in a very sort of entertaining way. I say that from the point of view of hating him and being terrified of him the entire time, but still, he's one of the characters that made the game so enjoyable. But in the end, the only real question about games like this is, was it scary? It always is. It's a horror game. The idea is you're supposed to be terrified. And the answer is yes. Again, it's another one of those games where you have to let yourself get scared, very much like the Amnesia games. But yes, it was. It actually had more varieties of fear than, say, Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and Machine for Pigs. In The Dark Descent, the fear was this creeping, this terror of being discovered, of not quite knowing what was out there. Machine for Pigs was more a creeping horror, and Outlast actually has a little of both those games, plus something of its own. There was still that kind of fear where you hadn't been discovered yet, you were hiding under beds, you were desperately trying to not be seen, creeping around. It had that real intensity to it. And there were moments when you just didn't know where the bad guy was, and you were sort of creeping around thinking, please don't find me. There were other moments when you got, scared out of your skin because something would just grab you, or you had the other kind of fear where you were just running, going, "Please don't catch me! Please don't catch me!" There was this sort of a lot of difference moment to moment between the type of fear I felt, and of course there was still that creeping horror feeling as you see what's gone on and the horrible things that were happening around you. But if I was going to pinpoint one thing about this game that did make it truly scary, it would be the night vision. I think that was a sort of almost a stroke of genius on the game's part, on the game developer's part. It really did add this strange sensation of it being a kind of live documentary, of it being real somehow, even though you were looking through a camera. And the sort of really terrible image, the slightly blurred image, and the fact that it only had a very small range where you could actually see in the night vision. You had to sort of zoom in and out, and you were trying to find the bad guys with this, and you would literally be looking at a dark patch and suddenly the bad guys would be visible. They'd step out of the dark into the narrow range of night vision, and it really did add this horrible tension for some reason. Plus the fact that the batteries kept running out. Now, the batteries did run out ridiculously fast, even though this camera obviously had been modified. It had a very powerful night vision lamp on top. You'd still think it would last more than 2 minutes per battery, but still that kind of mechanic added an element of urgency. You couldn't just put the camera on night vision and stand there for half an hour observing, which is the way you would want to do it. You want to find out where everything is before you move, and you can't. There's this, you have to take some risks, and that really does add to the tension. And then when your camera gets broken and has all those cracks on the screen, and it keeps crackling every now and again, which terrifies you because of the sound. I mean, it really did work very, very well. I'm surprised at how much more atmosphere and tension it brought to the game. The ending was, I mean, again, fairly cliched, I guess. I didn't really expect the character to survive at all. Not for a moment, actually. These games you never do. And I wasn't totally surprised at the end when it turned out that the wall rider had got inside myself. I was expecting there to be something more, like I had been an inmate earlier on, or I was part of it, or maybe the wall rider was part of me. I was expecting some twist like this, but it turned out not to be. The wall rider was part of Billy, another patient, but of course he did possess me at the end, and then, you open the door and Viniki's there, and your first response is slight anger as you're being shot and killed, but at the same time you start thinking, well, no, I mean, alright, if the wall rider was in me, they have to kill me, but why did he bring more soldiers in? More potential hosts? You sort of start wondering whether Viniki was telling you the truth, because logic would say, why didn't Viniki, you've got all this scientific research going on, all this materials, there's got to be something in there that allows you to make a bomb or something like that, surely. Why didn't he just ask you to do that? Destroy the facility with everyone inside it, himself included? Because he kind of hints that he wants to die. But at the end, he has soldiers with him who, the wall rider obviously leaves me and then starts fighting them. But I'm assuming, because it did look like my character was dying, I mean, he'd been shot God knows how many times, the wall rider was going to possess one of them. Would he be Viniki, perhaps, he was going to possess? Viniki didn't exactly look physically capable. You would have thought what he'd want to do is possess one of the more healthy soldiers. So in a way you think to yourself, did Viniki make a big mistake at the end? So there's still a lot of questions for me. There are a lot of questions for me. And of course you can't help but think, maybe there's going to be an Outlast 2 that's going to... and I would like that, actually. I would like that, I've got to admit. The game was enjoyable enough that I would really, really look forward to playing another one. So, on the whole, I would say very enjoyable game. Really did enjoy playing it. I think I enjoyed playing it more than the Amnesia games, but I wasn't as scared. I can tell you that. Especially the Dark Descent. The Dark Descent just terrified me. There were times I just had literally to stop playing, wander around the house and turn every single light on. It was horrible. I was absolutely terrified. And whilst playing, I almost felt numb. Whereas this game, I was scared, but it was kind of like being on a roller coaster scared. You finish it, you were terrified. You know, you went upside down 50 times and span around and thought, oh my god, this is incredible. And now you want to go again. Now you're jumping up and down and going, okay, let's go again, let's queue up, let's go. So yeah, very enjoyable game, pretty damn scary, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching me play it. And yeah, I will definitely be looking out for DLC or sequels.